All right, welcome back to this week's Walk and Talk, and I've got a cracker for you today. This is going to be a good one. And we do have a weather front that has just moved in, typically as I started recording. But you will be amazed to know that my skin is indeed waterproof. Yep, I took one of those upgrades from the fourth industrial revolution from Klaus.
Human being some sort of natural concept is really going to change.
Our bodies will be so high tech, we won't be able to really distinguish between what's natural and what's artificial.
You might ask yourself, can we get to be superhumans?
So you'll be pleased to know we'll be good, although the camera isn't, so let's see how we get on. And by the way, I'm joking. This is all natural. So what have we got today then? We have got, well, here's the list. JP Morgan and BlackRock, you won't believe what they've done. Zelensky, gosh, the stuff that's come out this week. EU, USA, distractions around the missing Titanic sub. That is a very interesting one, these three things. Disney, Elon Musk and Zuckerberg, cage fight. And we have to put a crazy one in. Dogs, yep, dogs and climate change. Yes, the news is that climate change is making dogs angrier, so they're getting more angry and attacking people. We'll get into all of that. All right, so let's get started with the first story then. From the Financial Times, okay? This is from the Financial Times. JP Morgan and BlackRock have set up a new Ukrainian reconstruction bank. Okay, might sound quite innocent. Oh, they're trying to help out, are they? They're trying to do Ukraine a favor. Well, let me just give you a few more of the details from this article from the Financial Times themselves. The fund aims to attract billions of dollars in private investment to assist in rebuilding projects in the war-torn country. The contracts will be worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Investors will have a preview this week at a London conference hosted by the British and Ukrainian governments. The estimates are that the reconstruction of Ukraine will cost $500 million as of now, but it is expected to pass 1 trillion. Oh, really? And how exactly do they know that? Is my first question here. How do they know that it's going to cost more than 1 trillion? Zelensky announced last month the country was working with 2 financial groups and consultants at McKinsey. The focus is on private investment rather than government investment. Investors can expect great returns, claims Zelensky. Drop in the comments your thoughts on that. I'm not going to say anything. But hold on, why is it government? Why is it not government investment? Why is it private investment? There's my first question. Now, the next thing that's unusual about this article then, it says, BlackRock's advice has drawn on its work from the Saudi National Development Fund and the Climate Finance Partnership. Well, what has climate finance got to do with the rebuilding of Ukraine? And that's where we come into all the other things we've talked about a lot of times here with it's not what you think in terms of, I don't think you can hear this wind at the moment, but it is absolutely outrageous. Goodness me, the things I do for you guys, eh? Who else would be walking and doing a walk and talk in the rain like this, getting drenched? Zelensky went on to say that once the war is over, that we are going to begin rebuilding immediately. And, you know, obviously we talked about the great returns for investors who invest into this. So here's my first sort of, how can we say this, point that I'm not happy with here. And that is that the government is sending taxpayer money, right, for the weapons that are destroying all of this stuff, right? So we know that it's destroying the country. Although, yes, before anyone says, no, it's Russia destroying the country. Okay, well, there's weapons being sent both ways, okay? Actually, I think I'm going to walk this way. Well, that's taxpayer money, which is being used for the destruction. Surely, taxpayer money should be being used for the rebuilding. Wouldn't that just be logical? No. So what's happening is these groups keep pushing more and more war and no peace talks, And then what happens then is that these big investment firms come in, and you should see the contracts that are going on at the moment, crazy. They come in and then they do all the rebuilding with their consultants and they make a ton of money. So the people are just puppets as usual, all public funds being used on this, and then the investors rush in and they make all the money. Okay, I am slightly embarrassed to say that I'm a bit lost right now, but if we just head down the mountain, all rivers lead to the bottom. So let's just do that, because I have no idea where I am right now on this walk. Okay, so people can't afford to pay their mortgages, they can't afford food, they can't afford energy, all this money is being sent, and then the public won't get any of that money back. Wow, isn't that a great deal? And another funny story that just broke today is that JP Morgan has just been fined $4 million by the SEC. So, I mean, this stuff is just unbelievable. JP Morgan has just been fined. At the same time, the EU is just preparing a $50 billion package for Ukraine as well. So there's even more money. And by the way, I'm not anti-Ukraine or anything like that before anyone starts. All I'm doing is pointing out logical facts. I don't need to get into Russia and everything else like that, because the mainstream media does more than enough on that front. So all I'm doing is just picking up on a few points here that no one else will report on. And the US has just announced an increase to their shell production from 20,000 at the moment, 20,000 per month, and they want to quadruple that up to 80,000 shells per month by 2025, and even more by 2027. Now, think about that a second. We're in 2023. Why are they planning right the way towards 2027? Does that make any sense? Unless they know something that we don't know. Although, actually, we do know. We are well aware of what is going on here. After this conflict, we're going to see another conflict. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is with China. Gosh, I'm getting absolutely drenched on this walk. I don't think the camera will pick up the rain very well, because it's got this sort of softening lens feature on it. I am getting nicely drenched here for you guys. I'm sure it'll be worth it. I'm sure you guys are supporting me. You're buying my macro course in the description, my stock market course, and you're definitely going to get my new wealth psychology course, the accumulation of wealth. I'm sure you're going to be lining up to get that to support me in my adventures. And just as I say that, the little scrap of paper that I've got my bullet points on for today has just disintegrated and turned into paper mache. So the next point I was going to mention then is Zelensky just passed a law to ban all Russian books from the country. Sounds like that, modern day book burning type thing, doesn't it? But this is what happened. I'm going to have to do all this from memory now. The Minister for Justice for Ukraine actually said that, and don't quote me on this exactly, he said that it didn't meet human rights criteria and the freedom to, choose and have your own opinions. And also it would hurt, they said this at the end, it would hurt Ukraine's membership into the European Union. So they definitely don't want that. So they've told him that his law is not legal. Now, another thing that just came out this week that was quite funny was Zelensky getting involved in US politics. Now, here's the irony of this. He was asked about Republican, not Democratic, but Republican candidates that are running. So Trump, DeSantis, and there's one other guy. And he basically said, let me try and paraphrase this. He said something like that they may not be the best candidates due to their lack of support for Ukraine winning the war. So, he was pressed on this. What do you mean by that? And he basically said, well, the other candidates, the Democrats said that we'll win no matter what. We will keep fighting no matter what. And then you have DeSantis and Trump and people saying, we just want peace. We want an end to the war. I think I'm going to go down this way. I can't even see anything in front or the past properly. And he said that that's basically not the right attitude to push for peace. Oh gosh, the things that come out. And then he made this big, you know, statement about, oh, well, you know, president's got to be willing to fight and send the sons and daughters to Ukraine, and you know, no matter what, there's going to be people dying and Americans might have to go. And you know, he said this before. This isn't anything new. I think this is the third time he's made this sort of speech about Americans will have to go and die on the battlefield, and you know, all this sort of stuff. I guess it's what you say when you're a wartime leader. You know, one thing I'm going to do in the future as well is I'm going to laminate my post-it note when I come on these walk and talks, because I've got to do all of this from memory here. My paper just disintegrated way back there up the mountain. So what was the next one? Oh yeah, the missing Titanic sub. So there's a Bloomberg article. I hope it's a Bloomberg article. I'm going to throw it on screen here. And they said that, you know, this whole thing is a little bit weird. Why is it a little bit weird? Well, because they said that the US Navy detected the explosion of the sub days ago. So the whole questions are arising. Well, why was this big manhunt sort of conducted if they know that the sub blew up when it got near the Titanic wreckage days ago? Now, there's a lot of theories. There's loads of theories, actually, as there always is. Whenever something like this happens, there is just tons and tons of wild theories that come out. So I'm not going to go into the dozens of theories, but I'm going to just mention 3 things that have come out, which I think deserve some sort of merit or mention. So the first one was obviously the Bloomberg article. The second one was around all the Biden stuff. So we'll say Biden's son. We won't use his name, or else the video will get picked up and flagged. So there's all of that stuff. And now there's all these damning reports. Zero Hedge just did a big article on it, that Biden was actually, so president, was actually in the room when the son made threats to some Chinese businessman. Or, like, you know, all this stuff. I don't really go into it in too much detail because it's just hearsay. Unless I've got a video of it being said and I've got written witness testimonials and all that, then I'm not really going to buy too much into it. But that's what's being said, that all these threats were made and there's all these bribes and there's everything else. And now there's tax evasion. Imagine that, the president's son doing tax evasion. Gosh, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So there's all these theories around the whole sub thing is a massive distraction. And then the third one, which I do really believe is somewhat linked to everything, is around this new US grown meat, lab-grown meat.
US regulators have now approved sale of chicken made from animal cells. It has allowed 2 California companies to offer lab-grown meat to restaurants. The US Department of Agriculture gave the green light to Upside Foods and Good Meat to sell meat that doesn't come from slaughtered animals.
So there wasn't a big fanfare about this, but the USDA has just approved lab-grown meat. And this stuff, I don't know, I haven't tasted it, but do I want to eat lab-grown meat? No. You see, I'm one of these people. I believe in natural health. I don't believe in we have to do all this. I honestly think the more you interfere with human nature, or whatever you want to say, God's creation, right? I think the more we interfere with all these things, the worse it gets for us. So I try and keep my health as natural as possible. I don't take any medications, I don't take any jabs or anything like that. And it's interesting that all this meat stuff is coming out at the time of the hamburger apocalypse, I think they're calling it. So in the US, the head of beef cattle is the lowest it's ever been on record. And at the same time, we're seeing all this massive growth in lab-grown meat. I just don't see personally how that can be economical. Growing meat in a lab with all this technology and all this other stuff, when you've just got a cow walking around on a field eating grass. Now, I know that isn't how a lot of them are raised. They're in barns and everything else, but I just can't see. I'd have to really look into this more, but it sounds fishy to me, let me just say that. But beef prices are absolutely exploding at the moment. Guys, the camera is soaking wet now, and so is the lens. So I hope you can still see this okay. Even my microphone is drenched. So, fingers crossed for this video, fingers crossed. Gosh, this is where my memory's starting to kick in now. I've really got to remember all this stuff. Next one, UK banks have been called up. It doesn't say who they've been called up by, but they've done a few things that are bad. Number one, they haven't passed on any of the interest rate rises. The government's really upset. The banks are meant to be doing it. Of course, they're not going to pass them on. What, you think they're going to pass these savings on to you? Or should I say, I'm talking about your savings account here. You really think they're going to pass all of this on to you? No, they're not passing these rates on to you. You're supposed to get more with your savings. They're not passing them on. So that's the first thing. But the other thing is the NRLA. I think that's the National Residential Landlords Association. They've just announced to the government, they've put this big report together, that there's going to be an absolute catastrophic crisis in the UK rental market unless the government does something immediately. So what they've said is that 85% of buy-to-let mortgages are on interest-only rates. Now, I didn't even know this myself. I just assumed most people would have a fixed rate repayment mortgage, but apparently 85% of mortgages are on these interest-only rates, according to this report. I'd have to see it for myself to believe it. But either way, they've estimated that 735,000 mortgages might collapse because of these rates, because the payments are going to go up so much. They're saying that some of them are going to be going up by over £1,000. And they said that there's no way you can add on £1,000 to the rent of, you know, some of these properties, because the public just can't afford it. Oh, we got a little bird here. I think it's fallen out of its nest. Poor thing. There it is. Tiny. Look how small that is. I think it's just fallen out. Probably did not expect the rainstorm here. Oh well, good luck, little fella. Hope you make it. There's a lot of wild cats around here, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for him. Next story then was Disney. Yeah, so Disney has got another crisis. It's so funny. Remember when Disney was $200 a share? We got a break here under the trees from the rain. Do you remember when Disney was $200 a share in 2021? And what's it now? $80 per share. And they never want to accept why this is happening. You know, they're calling it, what was I was reading earlier? They're saying right-wing conservatives are causing the downfall of Disney. Well, it's not like it's intentional. It's not as if they're deliberately trying to do it. They're just fed up with all the woke stuff coming through. And do you remember the Flash movie? This was meant to be a big box office hit. Well, it wasn't. In fact, it really crashed. And they're not saying the reason why, but I can tell you the reason why. This main actor, Ezra Miller, who identifies as they, them. I don't know why they keep putting that in every headline, that he identifies as they, them. What's that got to do with anything? But anyway, that's what they keep putting in to every story here. Well, it says that there were charges, and they say the charges were dropped and all this. Yeah, of course they were dropped. The people were probably paid off. So what actually happened then? I had to look up these charges. I couldn't find these charges anywhere. And I was thinking, why are they trying to hide these charges? Well, wait until you find out what these charges were. Twice, so 2 separate incidents, he tried to choke people in Iceland. These were strangers. He didn't know them. The accounts say that he just walked up to them and choked them for no reason. There was another one as well where he stole some alcohol, some booze from a property, and then it resulted in a felony. It doesn't say what happened, I'm not really sure. And then there was another one involving a child. I'm not even going to say what happened. You look into that for yourself. You will be able to find the information on some alternative sites. But yeah, that's all I'll say about that. And yet the media is saying, oh no, it's just these conservatives that are targeting him and, you know, making him out to be a bad guy. No. The crimes, the statements make him the bad guy. The actions. It's not people's opinion of him that make him a bad guy. But anyway, we'll move on from that point. I think it's pretty obvious why Disney is suffering the way it's been suffering. Ah, lovely, it's cleared up a bit now. So what were my last 2 points then? Oh yeah, the cage fight. What do you think of this cage fight between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg? I want to read your comments on this. I want to know what you think, because this is very interesting. I wonder if it's a joke. It seems pretty serious though. They both seem really serious. And Zuckerberg's put out all these videos of him doing MMA and BJJ and everything like that. And to be honest, his technique, I was watching it, not too bad at all. Although it's the same move, it's the same combo over and over again. So Musk, if you ever watch this, which you won't, but just watch his combo and I'm sure you'll be able to handle that take him to the ground, use your body weight or something like that. But I want to know your comments. What do you think of this cage fight? And then the last one then was the dogs. Hey, look, my memory's doing good. The last one then was the dogs. Oh gosh. So there's this report that climate change is causing dogs to become more angry.
The globe is heating up. Of late, human and dog conflicts have significantly increased around the world. Dog attacks could become more common on hot and polluted days.
Yes, they're going around biting people because they're so angry. This temperature rises. But then I was like, okay, well, maybe the dogs are getting angry because it's too hot for them or whatever. But then they ruined it at the end. They said, but dogs in, I think it was like Iceland or somewhere random, are also biting people because it's too cold. So they're getting too cold. It's like, oh gosh, who comes up with these stories? Who does these reports? You can't be a serious researcher, honestly. I mean, I can just imagine if I was doing that job, I'd be like, my life sucks. I have to make up a story to, you know, go along with this whole thing that now climate change is causing dogs to go around attacking people. Oh gosh, you can't make this stuff up. You really can't. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed watching me get absolutely drenched and blasted by wind and rain on this walk today. And yeah, you're more than welcome to join my private community or take any of my courses, or send me we don't do the coffee anymore, but you know. Thanks for your support here. Really appreciate it. Take care. God bless. I'll see you next week now.